So year two, we also ran a CSA, which grew a little bit from the previous year. And we knew that we could handle as much as it grew, considering our capacity from the first year.
An important part of that story is that were doing all of this infrastructure work. So we still really didn't push the advertisement. We did a little bit more um, and kind of reached our goals to like cover the cost of what it cost us to do it since we knew we were running that market as well. And we were hoping to, cover the cost and generate more money during the market, which happened. And, in addition to this, we started building relationships in New Jersey, which we weren't really expecting. So we started sending produce back with Anne's parents who come out almost every weekend and happen to be our logistics and our transportation in that. But that's kind of a limited growth opportunity, and people want our stuff there. But we'll talk about that in a different video or a different segment because we've already kind of decided um, our growth there is going to be very limited unless market dynamics change. It's too expensive and too much time for us to drive out, and we would have to be serving quite a lot of people um, to make it worth our time. And we're not willing to do that right now, even though we know we could probably get those people.
In year two, we continued to grow our email list because people were now coming to our farm. So we were forming an even more direct relationship with new people as well. And then we started exploring other marketing channels too than what we had, which we'll explore marketing in either a workshop or another video. But we just kept growing our network by having these events, being present in the community, and connecting directly with the people that would come and visit our farm. We also learned what capacity we could handle at our scale because we had the committed CSA members and we would run the market and
Mm-hmm.
would see how many people were buying our shares. So, this was another thing that we came up with this year. Instead of selling individual produce specifically at our markets to consumers, we would create like a harvest basket for consumers, which would
The
be,
same as our
yeah,
CSA,
almost the same
basically.
as the CSA. And this worked really well because it was an easy thing for consumers to say, oh my gosh, I get this whole basket of produce and
Mm-hmm.
it's X amount of money. And then we would meet our sales goal per person. Instead of
Mm-hmm.
people spending,
$3 for
yeah,
them.
$3, they'd
They'd send
spend
30.
30, which that's where we wanted to be with each consumer. We just had to provide the right amount of value for
Mm-hmm.
that to make sense. And it worked pretty
Yeah.
well for us.
And this ties into the New Jersey thing we were just talking about, is that people would buy those for New Jersey. So that kind of informed us for this year of like, okay, well, how many can we really do weekly if we offered a CSA share for New Jersey? So we kind of have that number, and we're basically at our goal for that. Just our test year for, okay, let's see if we can really do it every week that we promise. But to tie back into year two, kind of why we're limiting our CSA growth is also because the infrastructure was not ready at the point, like right now this year at this point in the winter, all of our projects are basically done now. So now we're really kind of aggressively trying to grow and market the CSA. We'll talk about the marketing, like Ann said, in a different video, but we're trying to boost our numbers to meet what she was just talking about, like that upper limit of our capacity with all of our market shares that we would sell at our market, but just make those CSA members apart, just try to get those shares to be CSA members for the season instead of trying to sell them weekly. Talking about the infrastructure, last year all of our barnyards were kind of getting their last, maybe not last phase, but like the last part of our plan cleaned up and event space like prepared. We'll show pictures of that. We kind of made a cool post on social media about that and got a lot of traction. and people really loved it and saw the transformation. So we'll put a little bit of stuff in there about that. But we also didn't have our walk-in cooler or our wash pack set this year. You know, year one they were temporary. Going into year two, we couldn't really move them until all those projects were done. So we were moving them in the spring after those projects were done. And I had to build the walk-in cooler in its final place, and we set up our wash pack, which we can show pictures of that eventually, and video, and talk about those systems. But like kind of a lot of uncertainty. We're like, oh my gosh, we gotta do these crazy projects right when we're putting everything out, and they got done, and it works well. And now we have those systems in place. So like we said, this year is more about aggressively growing and seeing what our capacity is and how we can attract more members um, to our CSA.